Good evening, Internet, and welcome back to Bloodstone, our Four Dads 5th edition D&D campaign set in the Forgotten Realms. I am your Dungeon Master, 8BitPonies, and I have with me four of our five cast members. Three of our five cast members. Makaria is MIA once again. Sprout will not be with us again this week. We believe he is traveling, but I don't really know where he is. Anyway, we are back for the second week in a row, which is a kind of a milestone for us. We are going to bring you some quality Bloodstone action here just momentarily. Just for a little bit of housekeeping, as far as I am aware, our normal streaming schedule will apply to this entire week. So tonight's Bloodstone, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week will be a Rampocalypse action. Come check out the Four Dads in League of Legends if that's the kind of thing that you're into. If not, well, we're happy to have you today. We will endeavor to provide as much entertainment as we can in the short time that we have you. There is Vamp/Makaria sitting down and poking our faces.
Yep,
so
I
we
poked
How's it going, guys? Everybody having a good week?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm sold.
Yep.
All right. So then, just one additional heads up. I have Copperlocks here with me this evening. My daughter, who is just off screen this direction. Nope, that direction. She is with me for at least another half hour or so, and I will have to take a short break once her mother returns home to see her off to the Land of Nod. So we will take a short break here in about 20 to 30 minutes, right as we're getting things rolling, I'm sure. And yeah, we appreciate your patience, but dad duties come first. That's what this is all about. Anyway, when last we left our intrepid group of adventurers, the party was finally in full swing. Eldrick's Ascension party. The celebration of Eldrick Oks, the leader of the Companion Protectors and now Baron of Morov, coming into his own and stepping up into a governing role within the Kingdom of Bloodstone. This party, thrown by his mother, Madeline Oks, taking place in the courtyard of Oakheart, the family's ancestral manse, has been attended by a large number of visiting and local personalities, dignitaries. You have the 8 High Lords from the various thanedoms of Morov. You have a number of city officials from the nearby, well, I was going to say the nearby city, but the city of Heliogabalus, which is the largest city and soon to be the capital of the Bloodstone Kingdom. While it's not technically or officially a part of Morov, it does lie fully within the barony, and thus Morov has a good deal of influence within. So a number of political officials and church officials from Heliogabalus, in addition to a number of various officials from the barony of Morov, and then some friends, perhaps unexpected, or perhaps not, who knows. An old adventuring companion of Eldrick's and the rest of the parties, Miranda Kanar, who is retired from adventuring and has taken a ladyship or a lordship within the nearby domain or barony of Thoros'l, is in attendance, along with the Baroness of Thoros'l, Lady Sylvia Praca. Another couple additional friends are here as well, and as I said, the party has recently made it into full swing. However, A number of strange occurrences have somewhat plagued the party members thus far. They are being chalked up, I think, and correct me, gentlemen, if I am incorrect, but they have been chalked up by the party as mere hallucinations. But they have been somewhat alarming, as a number of spectral furbolgs appeared in the courtyard and seemed to have their attention fixated on the party. They don't move, they don't speak, but they just watch. A number of other strange, unexplainable occurrences or visions have happened as well, including a vision of an alternate sprout, I guess, viciously attacking Madeline Oks in Makaria's borrowed bedroom. Eldrick being driven to his knees and mortally wounded by spikes protruding within his armor. The golden oak tree in the courtyard, the center point of the manor and the center point of the courtyard of the manor, beginning to rot and decay and writhing in agony, as well as a number of other unsettling images or unsettling visions have plagued the party since the moment that it began. Thus far unexplained, at least in its entirety, but chalked up by the party as, at least at this point in time, figments of their imagination or some kind of hallucinations that they are somehow sharing. Topping all of that off, as Eldrick's welcoming speech to his guests concluded, a loud crash sounded out in the night and drew the attention of everyone. Previously, the so-called hallucinations had only seemed to affect Eldrick and his companions, but this particular sound, I suppose, appeared to draw the attention of everyone, as a colossal black-scaled dragon with flaming green eyes settled down upon the second-story roof of Oakhart, looking down into the corridor, and spoke only a few words to Eldrick. "You have called, thus I have answered." And that is where we were going to pick up this evening. Before we get too well, before we do too much else, I want to go around the table and give initial reactions. We'll start with Eldrick, obviously, but everybody else, be thinking about, as you see this happen, as you see and hear this happen, and note that the party, or I say party, because our language is somewhat difficult whenever dealing with words that mean the same thing. The party goers reacting to this sound similarly to the way that you have. What is your reaction, your initial reaction to the appearance of this dragon? We'll start with Eldrick.
Eldrick's gonna look directly at it because it looked at him and addressed and stated its thing, right?
So whenever I said it looked at you, so just the sheer size of this thing, its body is settled upon the rooftops way over here on the far side of the courtyard. But just the sheer length, and it's this long, sinuous neck and broad, wedge-shaped head. Its head is probably like just over the top of the lowest branches of the tree, and it's no more than maybe 20 or 30 feet away from you right now. Big dragon.
Right, but like, is it one of those situations where it's obviously making eye contact with me, or is there like a possibility that it could conceivably be looking at somebody behind me?
Make an insight check.
I'm gonna make an insight check. Pretty sure Durbin called this guy, and we find out that he's Death Knight right now.
Yeah. At night at the Roxbury scene.
What is going on here? 27. insight. That would be a... Gotta be kidding me. Starting off good with a nat 1. 8 total. So
Fantastic.
obviously I am the center of this dragon's attention.
Very clearly, you are the center of this dragon's attention. Its flaming green eyes settle directly on you and appear to stare into your soul.
Oh my goodness. Eldrick's initial reaction is he leans over to his mother and says, "Mother, please tell me you see the very, very large black dragon there."
Okay. What about Makaria? We'll just go around to the table. What is, I guess, going in a clockwise direction from where Eldrick currently is?
Makaria will step forward and she will immediately cast a globe of invulnerability upon herself and Makaria, and then say, "Makaria, what do you see?"
Okay. Thoros'l.
And I am actually casting the spell. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thoros'l, what about you?
Oh my god. What?
So just to remind you, you and Alanere were facing down a row, a line of what appeared to be approaching Drow soldiers, headed by your grandson, Thoros'l, as the sound of this crashing dragon smashing down upon the top of the building rings out, and roofing tiles start showering down over your heads. Your attention is immediately drawn in that direction, even though you've got the threat, the imminent threat to nearby.
Oh god. In Thoros'l's mind, he's been chalking all this up to whatever crazy visions they're having. But I mean, this is a giant dragon. After he looks at it and kind of takes it in for a moment, he is assuming, like, because it looks like it might be pointing its head towards Eldrick, that it's dealing with that. Was I there whenever he attempted to call Steed, or is that like
Nope, you were all away talking to the investigators without me.
Yes.
fantastic?
Yeah.
Great. But I can't let these drow come closer without my full attention. So I have to watch these drow. But I will make for my weapons. I won't draw yet.
Okay.
But I'll make my hands will be on at the ready.
Okay, and then Alanere. Different from everybody else, you feel kind of a ripple pass through Fionn, who's still kind of at your side. Like, she starts as the crash happens, and she kind of wheels like you to look up at the roof of the second story of the building, or of the manor, similar to you, to the way that you do. You actually feel her turn to look as your eyes are drawn towards this immense dragon overhead.
All right. Alanere, as his mind is kind of racing, he's kind of almost trying to put together like a theory of what's been going on with these hallucinations. And when he thinks he's got kind of like what's going on, and the dragon lands, and it's clear everybody's responding, he's actually going to like almost put like a protective hand up, like in front of Fionn, and kind of almost try and like back her towards like this open hallway.
Okay.
And basically, he's gonna be like, "Get back. If you know any protection spells, I would use them."
Alright, so you're trying to kind of back that direction, and you kind of put a hand on Fionn and try to bring her that way as well. Okay, great.
Yes.
So a heartbeat after the dragon makes its proclamation as it has landed. It says that phrase ostensibly towards Eldrick, and the party there's just a heartbeat before things start to happen. Makaria casts a spell. People in the courtyard seem to just be looking up, just in absolute shock. There is absolutely no response, Eldrick, from Madeline as you ask the question. She's maybe a full pace behind you. You just kind of turn, eyes locked on these glowing green, flaming orbs, just up over your head, and you kind of ask, kind of back over your shoulder. But there is no response from her other than just kind of like a not exactly a sharp intake of breath, but almost like a prolonged gasp from her. And that seems to be the general atmosphere of the courtyard. Music has died away. The chatter otherwise within the courtyard has completely stopped. The only sound is just this collective intake of breath, as the partygoers react to this, and you hear some perhaps some whispered oaths or some very hasty prayers to various deities. Eldrick, you are standing next to a number of, well, you're not standing next to, but you're standing near a number of various individuals, and you can hear just voices as that heartbeat passes, voices like whispering, basically prayers to Ilmater and to other deities. But as far as an answer to your immediate question, you get none from Madeline.
Check.
Makaria, as you turn toward Makaria, you complete your spell and you feel the protection of your globe spring into existence. You turn to Makaria and you ask your question, and her response is, I am not certain. There is very clearly an edge of fear in her voice. Thoros'l, you turn back, so you glance upward at the dragon, and then you realize there's a more immediate danger, if that's even possible. There's a more immediate danger to your right, and you turn back, and all that you can see of the drow are just wisps of like a greenish mist or smoke that are dissipating, and make me a perception check.
Yes, I would love to. 23.
You see these kind of wisps of smoke evaporating or apparating from where the drow were standing, including Thoros'l, and you see them just kind of billow for a second and then begin to vanish, but they are very clearly receding back toward Eldrick.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Suspicions. A little more evidence.
Oh no.
Yeah. Guess I knew who has to die. Sorry.
Alanere, as you kind of strong arm Fionn and yourself into kind of the corridor leading out of the manor, you bump hard into something or someone. Like your attention is elsewhere, and you're trying to pull Fionn and get yourself into that kind of corridor that leads toward the main gate, and you bump hard into someone. And you turn around and you see a familiar face, one that you probably did not expect to see, but a nonetheless familiar face of Pardik Talendar, who is white-faced, jaw wide open, and eyes just, and he's he's got this kind of blank look on his face, like almost like like he's in shock, and
Like the rest of us.
very much like the rest of you. But he looks at you, like you bump into him, and he's looking upward, and his hands are just kind of down at his sides, and you know the characteristic smirk or smarmy attitude that you have often seen on the face of Partic Talendar or Partic Wolfswift, completely gone. He is completely just in complete shock, and he doesn't even see you. You bump into him, you very nearly bowl him over. He's kind of backs away as you hit him, and he's just his mouth is kind of gaping, mouthing words, or mouthing some semblance of words, but no sound is coming out. And then you feel a rush of air. Thoros'l and Alanere, you feel a rush of air as this colossal form beats its wings once, leaps off of the building, stone and wood crumbling beneath its weight, and it touches down on the lawn. And as it does so, the immediate members of the celebration, or the attendees of the celebration, they don't so much scatter as they start to pull away from, like they start just kind of eyes agape, some with hands raised to their mouths or to their chests, like it's just in pure shock or pure wonder, begins backing away from what is very clearly a massive form that has landed in the courtyard in front of them. And as one, they just start backing away as this thing touches down, and a clear line starts to appear between it and Eldrick.
Never get between a dragon and its halfling.
Thoros'l, make me a let's do insight. Make me an insight check.
Sure thing. 11. Natural
That's
one.
a natural one. Okay, so you don't get anything additional from. You're watching the smoke. You feel the breeze, and you more feel than see this thing touch down in your midst. What are you guys doing?
A lot.
I'm
So-
casting Detect Magic.
Okay. The crowd is the crowd visibly, like, are people fleeing this thing? Are
They
they
are
getting
not.
away?
They are not. They are staring at it, and they're very slowly beginning to back away. But more in a way that they are pulling aside to allow a path to form between it and Eldrick.
Oh, okay. Well, this is interesting.
That seems like unusual behavior for this kind of scenario.
I mean, maybe.
Compulsive.
As far as these people are aware, there's one way out of the house,
Hmm.
and it's past the dragon.
I've got thoughts, but Thoros'l can't communicate them.
Sure.
I will. Shoot. Keeping one eye on the dragon. Jeez. One eye on the dragon, the other eye. I'm gonna continue to scan the crowd. I had a mission in mind whenever I used this potion.
Okay.
To kind of make sure doppelgangers weren't in the midst. But I am gonna start edging my way towards Eldrick.
Okay. So you start making your way, you start edging in that direction, and as you do so, as you start to kind of edge your way around Stana, she almost like instinctively she reaches out and grabs you, and she turns around, and there are tears in her eyes, and there's almost a smile on her face. She says, "Thoros'l, are you seeing this?"
I don't think I'm seeing the same thing as you. What do you see?
And at almost on cue for you, Thoros'l, you turn and you're gazing over her shoulder as there are just tears that are beginning to run down her face. On cue for you, but not necessarily for anybody else. The dragon's form begins to condense and shrink down, and it turns considerably paler. Like so, this large scaled form that's filling up this side of the courtyard begins to shrink down, even as it starts to make its way forward underneath the tree. And it, even as it does so, the black scales start to become lighter, like a dull gray, and the wings begin to shrink down as well, and they go from the scaled kind of bat-like dragon wings to feathers. And the neck begins to the long sinuous dragon's neck begins to condense down or to contract in, and it doesn't contract all the way, but it becomes a much smaller creature, more akin to a horse with wings. And Eldrick, as you see, as the kind of tide of people part before you, you lose sight of the dragon's head up above you, and you look across the way, and you see this clear path between you and not a dragon, but a shining white winged unicorn. Hang on just a second, guys.
Per usual, the gods are fucking with me.
Yeah, I don't think it's him.
And we're going to take a short break because I've just I apologize. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But,
This is a perfect spot, actually.
yeah, in that moment we will take a short break. So stick around for those of you who are out there watching. We'll be right back just as soon as I possibly can. And we are back. Apologies once again for the necessary break. We are back and ready to go. So, Eldrick, you and the rest of the party, as Eldrick has this realization, the dragon's form disappears, and it is replaced instead by a shining white winged, feather-winged unicorn, and it has begun making its way under the tree through the throng of stunned partygoers toward Eldrick. And it says, in your mind, Eldrick, its mouth does not appear to move, but you hear a voice in your mind saying, I did expect a somewhat different reception. Are you well, Eldrick?
Eldrick will mind communicate telepathy back. Oof, that was rough. No, I am not. Apparently, I've been hallucinating all night, and until a moment ago, you appeared to be a massive black dragon.
It kind of tosses its head for a moment, and as though sniffing the air, and it continues to kind of pad its way across the soft floor toward you until its within distance, within range that it could potentially reach out and touch you if it wanted. I see. Will you allow me to touch you?
Eldrick will step forward and hold out a hand. Yes.
It similarly takes a step forward, and its head starts to come forward as well, almost like in a bow. And the horn in the center of its head reaches out and touches you on the chest. And in a rush, in a moment, it's almost as though a rushing of wind issues forth out from you. There's no outward appearance, like no rustling clothing or hair or anything like that in the assembled passersby. But all of the awful visions that you are having, the sight of the tree, the horns and pustules on people's faces, the drow moving through the crowd, so on and so forth, all of them are blown away as though on an invisible wind. And the voice of the voice of the creature comes back and says, "There, isn't that better? I am Endurus. Our father has sent me to your side."
Eldrick will say out loud, because I'm sure the crowd is like...
The crowd is starting to kind of move around now to kind of struggling to see what's going on. But it's very clear that what might have once been misconstrued as fear is now certainly curiosity and awe and wonder. You hear your mother let out a quiet sob from behind you.
Out loud, Eldrick will say, "And I am Eldrick Oks. Endurus, you are welcome here in the House of Oaks. Your arrival is a relief in many ways." I assume this is out of character for a second. I assume all the furbogs are...
Furbogs are gone entirely. All of the strange visions that you've been having through the course of the evening are gone. And that extends to the rest of you as well.
Eldrick has he's incapable of hiding the level of relief on his face to literally anybody who's looking at him right now. And he's just kind of looking into the eyes of this magnificent creature. And he says, "Thank you. Thank you so much."
As I said, you have called. Thus I have answered. Our father sends his reply. And there is kind of a ripple effect as you're talking to this thing, and that last was actually audible. You still didn't see the creature's lips moving or mouth moving, but it was audible. And there's just a kind of a rippling effect through the crowd as they all react to this as well. And there's just like whispers and voices start raising immediately. There are tears that are being shed. There are sobs that are sounding out through the crowd. People are reacting to the presence of this unicorn in a very favorable way.
Eldrick has a very visible and uncontrollable reaction. Up to this point, he has definitely wondered. If he has been forgotten, and he just kind of tears kind of come to his eyes. He's not like sobbing or anything, but he's definitely got tears in his eyes, and he just hugs this thing. At the mention of our father has answered.
There's a gasp that kind of goes up, and then almost like applause. Not like people aren't clapping as you go out to wrap your arms around the neck of this unicorn, but people are, you know, are reacting to it audibly. The unicorn doesn't make any motion to, I mean, it doesn't like put up a big foreleg on your shoulder or anything like that, but it does kind of
distance.
You do kind of feel the tickling of feathers as its wings come forward to not fully encircle you, but kind of rest upon the backs of your shoulders. And immediately there's just a cacophony of voices that start talking, you know, speculating about what all this is and what's going on. Thoros'l, you're kind of standing there, and you've kind of reacted to this as Eldrick has, and Stana kind of leans more toward you, and not trying to grab your hand or anything like that, but her shoulder kind of touches against yours. She just kind of leans and kind of puts her head on your shoulder for a second. Alanere, this whole thing has kind of gone a little bit differently for you, because from the moment that you saw Pardic, your attention was elsewhere. But there's a kind of this ripple effect as you start to see the furbog start to disappear as well, and in an instant, the look on Pardic's face goes from just complete shock to more confusion, and he looks at you, and it's as though it takes him a minute to recognize who you are, and he says, you, apologies, Ambassador. He starts looking around, looking up in the sky, and looking around, like looking past you at all the assembled people. He's like, sorry, I'm a bit late. Had the strangest. You're not going to believe. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. I'm not even certain that I believe. Is there anywhere that I could get a drink?
Probably from any of the servers.
Right. Point the way. I am in desperate need. He kind of shoulders his way in. Don't tell me that you started the party without me. He kind of shakes his head. The jibe, you know, it's classic Pardic, but you get the feeling his heart's not even in it. It's kind of half-hearted, like an afterthought. Makaria. Sorry, go ahead, Alanere.
Say, Pardic, I don't think I've ever been to a party that's been normal when you're here.
He kind of shoots you not a glare, but just like a kind of a dubious glance. He's like, and he just kind of gives you a, yeah, that tracks. And just kind of a nod. Like, yeah, that tracks. And he takes a handful, like maybe like does the kind of the classic movie. There's a server nearby. He kind of swipes the tray from her, full of drinks, and he just starts pounding them one after another, and raises one in your direction before he takes it back. Makaria, as you're standing there, still trying to react to what you've just seen, what you've just experienced, feeling the crackling arcane energy all around you as your globe is fully formed. There's a sensation of cold that rushes through you for a second, and then you feel a sudden weight on your left shoulder as you're standing there, as though something or someone had just placed a hand on your shoulder. You smell what smells like, well, can only be described as the scent of death, rotting flesh, the grave. And you hear very, very distantly, like, just over kind of the din as the party starts to strike back up, and people are reacting to the unicorn in their midst, and people are laughing and chuckling and sobbing. Even you hear a very, very, very faint sound of meh.
My head's on a swivel. There's got to be a goat. Because the last time I heard that, there was one.
The cold sensation passes, the weight on your shoulder withdraws, and you feel a chill pass through you. And you note that Makaria is just standing stock still, staring at you. Her black eyes kind of meeting yours, completely impassive, completely emotionless, just staring straight at you.
I'll kind of snap my fingers in her face real quick.
She reacts.
See if that breaks her concentration.
As your hand comes up, she flinches, like kind of reacts, and I'm sorry. What was that? Is that a thing that we do? She reaches her hands up and snaps them in your face.
It is when something seems a little off, such as perhaps someone using your eyes to look at me. And she's gonna wave her hand and get rid of the globe.
Okay. You did cast Detect Magic, is that correct?
I did.
You feel a number of magical emanations through the courtyard, but nothing more than, we'll say, normal?
For a party.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eldrick,
Okay.
as people's reactions start to wind down, from your initial embrace of Endurus, she and Endurus is a mare. She kind of looks you, like, kind of withdraws a bit from your embrace, takes a full step back, looks you in the eye, and her wings kind of fold down to the side, and she says, "This is the beginning of what I feel will be a long and dangerous partnership. But I am here at your side. You have only but to call on me." And she nods, and she begins to discorporeate. Turns into a kind of a sparkling silvery mist, to the exclamation of the crowd. And the mist kind of coalesces into a small moat around about where the base of the horn on her forehead was, and then it darts forward into you, like into the center of your chest, and it just took off my headset. Just kind of
Whapped it off. Nice.
It pops you in the chest and kind of bursts into kind of a shower of kind of motes of silver and gray. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, as she says the long and dangerous partnership, you about to call on me. As she starts to disaspirate, Eldrick will say under his voice, I hope that our father has told you all, because there is so much worse. And then he's very surprised when he gets laser beamed in the chest by sparkly glitter.
Yeah, so the mote strikes you in the chest and kind of explodes. I guess explode is the wrong word. Kind of puffs.
Jazz hands.
And when you look down at your chest, there is a what was previously unadorned on the breastplate, like directly on the breastplate in the center. There is now the folded hands sigil of Ilmater, outlined in sparkling silver, on the backdrop of gold. And the crowd once again, there is an audible reaction, visible reaction to all of this, and now there is applause, and people all around standing all around the courtyard are cheering and clapping, and their attention is fully on Eldrick and this spectacle that has just taken place.
Eldrick takes one of those like deep centering breaths that you do after like something very aggressively emotional has happened, and then goes into his the best he can do, because Madeline taught him well, statesman mode. Takes a breath, centers himself, and then raises his arms and says, "The Lord Ilmater blesses this event. I hope that everyone has a great time. I hope to get around and speak with all of you. Please enjoy the drinks. I must have a quick word with my mother, and then I will get back with the rest of you." And he just fucking beelines for Madeline.
All right. Well, you don't have to go far. So the crowd cheers once again. There's a very hearty applause as people react to your statement. They look as though they're about to just completely throng you, but the mention of you needing to have conversation with your mother, he steps forward and speaks, still kind of wiping away tears. Speaks in a loud, very clear, very no-nonsense voice. He's like, "The Baron will have an opportunity to greet each of you individually, but for the moment, you must understand this is family business must come first. We will continue with the proceedings, with the ceremony post haste, but please avail yourselves of our entertainment, of our food, and of our wine, and His Excellency will be returned to you as soon as is possible."
Dude, I got titles now. Woo.
And she takes you by the hand and allows you to lead her past Durban Holy, who looks more than a little shell-shocked by all this as well, and into the manor itself. And
as we pass Durban, I'm going to say, please follow. Obviously to him.
yes, and he certainly does. All right, so as you guys are going back into the manor itself, what are the rest of the party doing at the moment? We'll start with Makaria. Makaria, what do you do next, or what are you doing next? People are kind of glancing around, like blinking, almost as though waking up from a dream. People, and kind of the beginnings of kind of surprised, pleasantly so, surprised conversation, reaction, still kind of taking all of this in, and sharing what remains of this very, very emotional moment with those around them.
I am going to ask Makaria to stay there as I go and find Alanere.
you see Alanere standing talking to a man that you do not know. You kind of push past and head in that direction.
Yep.
What about Thoros'l?
Thoros'l, he was kind of edging his way over, but seeing the situation resolve itself, he's gonna just disengage himself from Stana and give her like a nod to not be rude, I guess, and move away from her. He's just gonna post up on the side of where you can get a good view of where Eldrick went in the party, and he's just gonna scan the crowd. And he's got a job.
Okay.
And doesn't much care to talk to anyone. So.
Well, you see almost immediately. There's as you kind of break away from Stana, you give her a nod, and she still tears in her eyes. She kind of straightens up a little bit and gives you one in return. And there's just kind of this kind of crestfallen look on her face, but she turns around, and as she's turning away from you, Diergo walks past and looks to be coming in your direction, a big smile on his face, and he sees your face and stops cold. And like just his smile disappears, and he like just kind of stares at you, just kind of mouth agape for a second, stops, and then turns away and begins to talk to Stana. Alanere and Makaria, back to you guys.
All right.
Makaria. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of like, Alanere just kind of turns to Beyond and be like, stay here, I'm going to try and find out what's going on. And then at this point, I'll probably be heading over to, like, Thoros'l.
You start in that direction, and you run face first into an approaching tiefling. And Hardik kind of disengages from you guys and starts to make his way toward the remainder of the party.
Makaria is gonna kind of like scoop, if able, like Alanere into the corner. Okay, I need to know, did you see a dragon?
I
Yes or
very
no?
much saw a dragon.
Okay. So we agree there was a dragon.
Yes.
No one else saw a dragon, as far as we can understand, right?
Looks to me like everybody saw it.
Theon chimes in and said, "Dragon? I did not see a dragon."
No one's talking to you, honey. Go away.
Oh, goddamn.
Make me an intimidation check, just straight up.
Does she get advantage for having a wreath of fucking flaming crown around her head?
She doesn't have.
I don't have it.
She doesn't have that
never
on right
mind.
now. Yeah.
My bad. I just always imagine her.
13 altogether.
All right, so she is going to. I'm gonna have to roll for her as well, just to see if she can withstand your. Oh no. She kind of stops cold. She looks. The scene plays out on her face. She's like, the first thing that pops into her head, it seems, like the look on her face is, "Bitch, please." And then she turns to Alanere, and Alanere, not giving her anything, at least not immediately, and she's just like, right. And she edges away and returns over to her companions. Keeping an eye on you, Makaria. You can see she doesn't fully take her eyes off of you, but she gives you just kind of a not worried, but a very concerned, very noticing glance.
I make friends everywhere.
Clearly.
Yes.
Like Thoros'l.
Only prettier. Okay, well, so your friend didn't see a dragon. I'm going to assume no one else mostly did. Makaria more than likely did not see a dragon. I am very much worried something very bad is going to happen because we're all in a nice place of comfort right now, and I'm not above saying I have a chill.
I think that somehow being in the place where two planes were connected, the material and the ethereal, I think it somehow had an effect on us.
But how? It's not like we're seeing through anything. We're outright seeing things that aren't there. I don't think it's a spell, though. So your guess is probably closer.
But I don't know whether it's an interaction with us being in a place of two planes at once, or if it's also connected to the... And he'll kind of keep his voice down, the stones.
That's my other worry. What happens if those things are having been able to be in a different kind of area, has a little bit more influence around its reality, and is kind of maybe altering what the majority of us see?
Yeah, that would be bad, because I've been on edge. I've been this close to starting a war between drow and dragons in this party.
Oh, well then, let's probably not start a war yet. Let's see. I'm gonna go see if I can find Eldrick. I'm gonna go find Eldrick, and Makaria is gonna take off somewhere.
Okay. We'll go back to Eldrick, having come back into the Great Hall of Oakhart with Durban Holy and Madeline Oaks in tow. What is it? What is it, son? That was... Did that really just happen?
Eldrick is going to look to Madeline. Mother? Yes. And he's going to look to Durban. What did you see land on the roof?
He kind of glances at you, looks at you. His brow kind of furrows as he's almost confused by the question. He kind of
remember, I told you that bad things were happening tonight. What did you see on the roof? Originally.
I takes a moment. He searching your face for a second. He says, he kind of gives you a nod. He says, I turned. I heard the sound of something landing on the roof, and the sound, what sounded like a horse's whinny. I turned to see the steed, your and he kind of glances down at your chest. Your companion. And Eldrick, to the end of my days, I will never forget this evening.
That's Durban Holy, I assume?
Durban, yeah. His voice is kind of husky as well, as though he is emotionally affected by this in the extreme.
Eldrick processes this for a second. I told you that I was seeing strange things. I saw a massive black dragon land on the house.
He glances at
He's saying
Madeline,
this
who
to the two of them. He's
Yeah.
saying this to the two of them. He's not like ignoring Madeline.
they look at each other, concerned, confused, then concerned, and then back at you. Well, Eldrick, there was no dragon. Just
That seems to be the case. As it came towards me, it seemed to shimmer into the glorious winged unicorn with which I think we all saw. And as it touched me, a number of illusions that I was seeing, well, a number of things that I was seeing during my speech vanished. I cannot convey to you how terrifying the courtyard was during the speech with which I just gave. Our great tree was emblazoned with terror and pox. There were drow shifting between the crowds, and finally the great black dragon landing on the ceiling. As Indurus touched me, all of it evaporated.
Well, what does it mean? This is from Madeline. She pure concern on her face now. She raises a hand up to kind of squeeze your arm, and kind of touches the side of your face. Eldrick, are you okay? This is.
He puts a hand on her hand and squeezes tightly. I think it means that my Lord and Later has sent us a message that he is on our side as much as he can be, and that we must remain true. I think that the burden that I carry for him may be affecting me and those with me. I don't believe either of you saw the visions that I saw, but I know at least Thoros'l and Makaria saw the vision, at least some of the visions that I saw. I think exposure to what I carry is problematic.
What do you need, Eldrick? What? All this talk of visions and the gods, and I will admit, I'm a little out of my depth here. I know that you've been under a lot of pressure, you've been under a lot of stress, and do you need to? You could talk to the priestess. She's here this evening. Maybe there's something that she could do to help you.
I have already spoken to the pain bearer. She has much wisdom, but none for my situation. He kind of looks to Durbin a little bit, maybe not like exclusively, but a little bit more for this part. If there is anything that Father has left here that he was very short about, any packages that he has squirreled away that he was nondescript about, I think that would be useful information. But at the moment, I think I need to get back out there, and his mother's training obviously kicking in. I think I need to get back out to the crowd.
Of course. I don't know what all of this is about, what this has to do with your father, but she kind of glances at Holy, and Holy's just kind of looking like staring straight at you, and notably not looking back at your mother. And
what do I detect any level of like Oh, I know what he's talking about. From Holy, or is he just like
Insight
the
check.
consummate professional right now?
Insight check.
Oh, I got this. I rolled a 1 last time. Surely I can't do that twice,
Never say
right?
that.
Like, certainly that can't happen again.
Never
Are
say
both
that.
of our insight checks so far this evening
Yes, they
have
are.
been
Yes,
natural
they
ones?
are.
That's
And they were
fabulous.
both on that dragon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's an 18 plus 7. 25 total on an insight check. Does Durbin Holy know some shit?
He
He
looks
knows all.
he looks chagrined. He looks guilty, but he also looks almost embarrassed. As though the look on his face says, I really wish that I could tell you, but I just don't like. You get the feeling that the look the whenever he makes eye contact with you, it is not guilt over not wanting to tell you something that he's withholding. It's guilt and embarrassment that he simply does not know. He suspects, but he just doesn't know what it could be. It is honest. He knows something is up. He knows that something is up with your father, and that there probably is something, but he doesn't know what it is.
Gotcha. Well, with that, Eldrick will take his mother's hand and say, we should probably get back out there. There are a lot of, as you would say, very important people that need our attention.
I have never been more proud of you, my son, she says, and kind of cups the side of your face and gives you a little pat on the cheek, and just pure pride and admiration and love looking up at you. Not the least of which is from all of the things that have transpired here this evening. And she takes you by the hand and says, Your Excellency.
Mother, shall we go?
And she allows you to lead the way back out into the crowd. Makaria, you are probably making your way toward the front of the manor at this point in
Very
time.
quiet. That's probably just me.
You were likely. I don't know if you were going a direct approach.
Sorry, hold on a second. My volume died for some reason. So
Okay.
we walked back out there and...
Going to switch to Makaria. So
yes.
Makaria is making her way toward where you disappeared. Makaria, are you taking the direct approach, or are you going through through back doors and things like that to try to get around in the manor?
Oh, I'm going through the manor.
Okay. So knowing the manor well enough by now, you could slip by Thoros'l and in through this doorway and start making your way around. And you would probably come around the corner just as Eldrick and Madeline are saying, basically talking about how they're going to head back out together. And you'd probably hear Madeline say, Your Excellency. And then as they start to turn, Durbin's eyes find you as you come around the corner.
And I just stop and stare at him.
Interesting. Okay. So Madeline and Eldrick continue on along. They disappear around and back out. And the crowd, as the doors open up, the sound of the party gets louder, and there is another cheer that goes up as the Baron, His Excellency, the Baron, makes another appearance. Lots of people cheering and applauding that. And as the doors close again, the two of you stand across the Great Hall from one another, just doing what?
I have a question that I would like to ask. and I would like to know if you were going to answer honestly or not.
He kind of gives you a bit of a half bow. He says, well, that depends entirely upon the nature of the question, my lady.
I'm going to
this,
take a
was there
step
something you were
in.
looking for?
No. I'm just very curious. Eldrick seems very keen that something is happening in this mansion. I personally think it's him. But you're the name that keeps showing up.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. If this is in reference to what His Excellency has only just now told me about shared visions, perhaps, I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
All right, so you know about that. That's great. No, I'm talking about more about who Eldrick is and what you might be hiding for his father that you're not wanting to tell him.
This has certainly taken a turn toward the surreal. I don't know what it is that you're getting at, lady, but this is...
And I'm going to suggest... I'm an idiot. I'm going to do suggest on him.
Suggestion. Okay. What is your DC for a suggestion?
18. Let me double check really quick. It is a wisdom save.
Yes. He gets a very dark look on his face. As you, what is the suggestion that you give him?
I suggest you speak the truth and perhaps... Hold on. Yeah. I suggest you only speak the truth from now on until the next sun.
He gets a very dark look on his face as you say that, and he takes a step forward to where he has a hand on the edge of the dining room table, and one hand kind of on the back of the chair. He kind of squeezes the back of the chair, and you can see his knuckles go white. He says, "My lady, I suggest if you are a guest in one's home, you should mind your manners better. I will not suffer another attempt such as that in my domain. Baron's guest or no, Lady Makaria, you are in my world." And he raps upon the table with his knuckles twice. And you make me a perception. What's your passive perception?
Passive perception. Oh, that would only be 11.
Okay. You before you really recognize what happens, or before you catch really anything else, you feel a pair of hands roughly grab you by your upper arms on either side. And Durbin very calmly, very coldly looks across the table as you're very, very roughly seized on either side. Says, "Gentlemen, the Lady Makaria is unwell. Please see her back to her room and keep her there." And
Are they house cards?
you can't see anything. Like, you don't see anyone. Okay. You feel them, and you feel... now that you're there, go ahead and make an active perception check.
Oh, that's only a 9. Yeah.
Yeah, they could be demons from the abyss, as far as you know. But you feel what are very clearly mailed hands holding both of your arms from either side. She is not to be harmed. She's not to be molested in any way. But she has had a bit more of the party than is good for her sensibilities. And until she learns the proper etiquette, keep her in her room. And you hear two voices, two familiar voices, the Narble twins, in unison, basically, saying, "Come along, lady. You've had enough." What do you do?
I say lead the way.
So they dismiss their invisibility and escort you upstairs. Alanere, Thoros'l, what are you doing at this point? So Makaria has made her way. Well, she disappeared past you, Thoros'l. Makaria is still standing nearby, just kind of taking in the party. No one is getting near her, though. People are looking at her. People are glancing at her occasionally, but no one is approaching her, including the servants. No one's making any move to get anywhere near her. What are you guys doing?
I'm pretty much heading over to Thoros'l after Makaria heads off.
Okay.
And
We're
I'm
also not doing much, so.
Okay. Still just kind of keeping an eye on things.
Thoros'l, do you have any idea what's going on?
I had my suspicions.
I have some of my own, but now all the strange things we were seeing are just gone.
Yes. Before all of them disappeared, I saw some of the images turn to green smoke, and that smoke head towards Eldrick, almost as if he was reabsorbing them.
You think we and again, he'll kind of glance around the crowd, make sure no one's paying particular notice to him, keeping his voice down, say, a stone issue?
Probably. Or whatever effect they're having on Eldrick.
They seem to be having an effect on us as well.
We've certainly been around Eldrick and them for longer than most.
True.
I will say that the poultice that Eldrick gave me, it's certainly making things interesting. I can see you pretty clearly, but those images, it didn't have any effect on them. Whatever was affecting us, it wasn't an illusion. It seemed to be in our heads. Whatever it was. Or it was just that powerful. It's going to be a problem, though. If Eldrick is projecting these all the time, that's going to be a big issue. Maybe it has some connection to this place. He said there was some reaction here.
Well, I don't think we're going to be getting him away from this manor anytime soon.
Well, hopefully with this party past him, if he's up for staying here, we can dig a little bit deeper. We've got to figure something out. This isn't going to work.
All right. So that you're able to see people's true forms. Would you mind taking a look at Quillen and the members of the White Tree?
Certainly, I'm not sure how far out this thing has effect. I'm just kind of trying to keep an eye on the room, but I'll walk with you if you can maybe make introductions. Don't expect too much in the way of hospitality from me, but I'll go with you.
I assure you, Thoros'l, that is one thing I never expect from you. So Alanere's gonna scan the room, see if he can find Quillen, the sage.
Yeah, he's easy to find.
Sounds like a rapper name.
He's pretty easy to find. He is actually standing over here. He is standing with another kind of older-looking gentleman in robes. I don't know if any of you recognize him. I don't think that you've actually spoken to this particular individual, but he's wearing a sigil, kind of emblazoned throughout his kind of white, kind of silvery white robes, in a golden and purple thread that looks like an eye with several rays emanating out from it. Make me just either a history check or just a flat-out intelligence check if you're not history related.
I have history. I do not have history.
I don't either,
going
but it's insane, so 7.
It's too bad the guy with the list of guests isn't here.
Yeah.
Oh, natural 20.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, so Alanere gets the natural 20. Yeah, you recognize well, I had it until you asked me. I had it in my brain, and now I have completely lost it.
De'Aaron Gench?
Master De'Aaron Gench, High Magus of the Ever-Seeing Eye. That is correct. So you recognize the sigil of the Ever-Seeing Eye. It's the only real mages guild in the city of Heliogopolis, and you recognize the gentleman is he is High Magus, but that is essentially the title that is given to the leader of that guild.
Okay.
Standing next to him is a dark-skinned fellow with kind of a scraggly, dark, kind of black and gray beard, and very, very short, very thin black and gray hair on the top of his head, who is dressed in full armor, and he wears the sigil of Tyr, emblazoned throughout. Symbols of the scales, the hammer and scales are everywhere, and you recognize this individual as well as Rhodri Chambers, the High Holy Justice of Tyr, also known as the High Lawgiver of Heliogopolis. He's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, if you will.
All right, and he's right there.
He's the guy standing with those two individuals. You see Quillen in his white robes. You see De'Aaron Gench in his white, kind of silverish white robes, and then Rhodri Chambers is in full dusky purple armor, plate armor, with the sigil of Tyr all over it.
All right. I'm assuming, does it look like all three of them are kind of engaged in conversation?
Light conversation, yeah. It's probably more Quillen is kind of standing by, and De'Aaron and Rhodri appear to be, they maybe even appear to be arguing.
Okay.
Not like a heated argument, but their body language is very clear that they are not enjoying each other's company so much.
All right. I'll kind of say point over with Thoros'l, just kind of point over to Quill and be like, "There's Quillin. Yeah, come over with me, and we'll make some introductions. And if he looks different than what he appears, give me a kick or some other kind of sign to let me know."
Okay. So the two of you make your way over. It's about this time that you guys are making your way over to them that Eldrick and his mother make their reappearance from beyond. So you kind of walk past Makaria and head over together. Probably more Alanere in the lead and Thoros'l just kind of trailing. And you make your way over there. Quillin. So the three of these gentlemen, the two of them don't even notice your approach. They're whatever conversation that they're having, they are entirely engrossed in. And as you get closer, it does appear to be an argument. Don't know what specifically it's about, but the language is very very much adversarial. Quillin, on the other hand, appears somewhat amused by the whole thing and notices the two of you coming closer. He makes eye contact with you, Alanere, and gives you a nod, and very, very subtly gestures for you to come over.
And I will take the cue and head on over.
As you do so, I'm going to move some people out of the way a little bit so we can get you in there. But you kind of come closer over. And Quillin doesn't exactly raise his voice, but he does speak. And whenever he does so, there's just this quiet authority that you feel. And he's the kind of man who never has to raise his voice. He speaks, and people want to listen. You recognize, you know this man fairly well, Alanere. He is a kind of an emeritus member of your circle. And yeah, you've experienced that multiple times. He can be in the middle of a crowded room, and if he opens his mouth to speak, people have a tendency to shut up and listen. Gentlemen. And that is exactly what happens whenever he does. The argument ceases almost immediately as both Chambers and Gensh turn their attention to him, and then, by virtue of that, to you. Might I introduce to you both two of His Excellency's companions, the Ambassador to Elven Lands, Master Alanere Nightsky, and Thoros'l Nightbranch?
No, he'll nod.
The two men, I'm not going to say scalded dog, but they get this kind of affronted dignity look, as though, whatever they were arguing about was important, but not important enough to continue. But it's not over. Like, whatever is transpiring between these two men is certainly not over, but they kind of turn.
It's on pause.
It's on, yeah, there's this kind of, even without even looking at each other, there's just kind of, the body language says, both of them is like, I'll get back to you later, kind of thing. And they turn, and they both kind of give you nods, and introduce themselves. Rodri Chambers, High Holy Justice of Tyr, and Diran Gensh, High Magus of the Order of the Ever-Seeing Eye.
Alanere will kind of give a kind of a deeper, respectful, head bow to each of them. Say, it's a pleasure to meet both of you.
Likewise. The man most quick to speak in this instance would be Chambers. Likewise, I regret that we have never had the opportunity to meet. You are ambassador from what elven lands, specifically?
Out of character. I remember it's very far west, but I do not remember offhand.
The story that you have been giving people was that you come from the Elven Fellowship of Shilmista, which is very far to the west. Yes.
Yes. I'll say, yes, I am from the Elven lands of Shilmista.
Ah, well, I can't say as I am familiar with that land, but you are welcome here, regardless. How are you finding our fair kingdom?
It is very interesting, full of culture and tradition.
Indeed, indeed. Are you a servant of a particular? Are you a servant of Sylvanas, similar to our esteemed Archmage?
Well, I deeply respect Sylvanas. I tend to follow the ways of Shantaea.
Ah, respectable in its own right. The Earth Mother does not, to my knowledge, have a great following within the Bloodstone lands, but perhaps that will sometime change. Tell me, what is your opinion on... And he begins to go into a very long and drawn-out discussion on guild politics and their place in the a city that also serves as the capital of a monarchy. Thoros'l, as you're weathering this, and Alanere is being a good sport and just letting this guy talk, you are looking around. So, for your benefit, true seeing extends as far as your vision does, out to 120 feet.
Okay.
So, you've got a really, really good look at Quillen, and you don't see any of the same hallmarks of magical disguise or otherwise as you do very clearly with Alanere standing next to you.
Okay.
You will note that as this conversation is going on, and the attention of both Gench and Chambers are on Alanere, his attention is very firmly on you. He doesn't say anything, but he's looking you over. You do recall that Quillen himself was involved in the fulfillment of your request to the crown a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was involved. So you have an acquaintanceship. You wouldn't call yourselves friends, but you've been around him before, and he knows you.
While this guy is droning on about guilds, and I'm wondering how I might interject to just kind of piss him off, I'm going to decline to do that. And instead, since I'm looking at Quillen, I'll just nod at him and say, and kind of gesture to the side. Could I have a word?
He gives you a nod, and kind of looks to both of the two gentlemen. Gench looks like he's about to try to interject and argue over Chambers with what he's going on about with Alanere. Quillen looks to both of them, looks back to you, Thoros'l, kind of glances at Alanere, and then just simply steps around the two gentlemen and around to you.
I'll kind of step aside enough that unless somebody's really trying, they're not going to overhear us, and I'm good. I'll say the information you were able to get, it helped.
It does my heart good to hear that. You were... I have often considered the response given were you able to reach some level of satisfaction, some level of resolution to your dilemma?
Some, but I'm sure you're aware that every solution brings its own problems.
He kind of gives a not like a sad smile at that and a nod. I hope that you were able to find some measure of peace, small as it may be.
Speaking of problems, I hear that the Crown has had a fair share lately. Problems with prominent members disappearing, dying.
His smile vanishes. He does not glance around as somebody who is nervous would probably do. This nation, this kingdom is fraught with a number of problems. We will, of course, look to those with the ability and the intuition in our monarch's example to solve those problems as we ever have, with the proper application of compassion, discretion, and ingenuity, as our beloved king himself. If you are interested in, and he kind of raises his voice a little bit, so as to kind of deflect. If you have interest in that particular study, I'm certain that I have some material on that in my tower. If you would only wish to visit when His Excellency is not otherwise engaged, perhaps we could discuss in greater depth. I would be interested in hearing your own take on those findings.
Absolutely. Sometime soon.
I very much look forward to it. If you'll excuse me, I believe that there is a certain unpleasant but necessary part for me to play in, and he kind of gestures to all of this.
All right.
It was very enlightening and very what's the word I'm looking for? Very enlightening and very gratifying to see that you have returned. He kind of gives you a bit of a nod and looks to move past you.
I'll not looking to impede this guy. I'll let him go. Nod back and kind of step out of his way.
He steps over, and as Eldrick kind of comes out into the crowd and is immediately just kind of enveloped in at least a dozen chattering nobles, Madeline kind of breaks off from him and goes to talk to Quillen. After a moment or two, Master Holy comes through the doorway as well, and the three of them are in quiet conversation. Not like serious conversation, like they're all smiles, but they're having a very just a moment. The three of them together. And I wanted to get further. I wanted to get you into more of why we're all here, Eldrick, but we are running really close to the end of our session for the evening. So what I will suggest then is that there's a certain expectation of you to get around to your guests, and I know that you have certain expectations of people that you want to talk to and certain things you want to try to accomplish as this party continues.
At least one of them, yeah.
Be thinking for next session, for next week, hopefully, who you want to specifically seek out first, who you want to try to talk to next. Basically come up with a short list of people that you want to try to get time with in the next little bit, because there are ceremonial parts of this whole thing that you'll have to endure as well. You've been somewhat briefed on you have to actually go through the coronation ceremony and things like that, and that's going to be coming up. So you want to make the most of the time that you've got in the short term, so that you can get done what you want to get done prior to having to break off and do another thing. You'll have an opportunity.
Don't you worry. I'm zeroed in on exactly what needs to happen next.
Okay, so then we will stop. Well, we'll almost stop right here. Makaria's in her room. One thing. So as you're turning away from Quillen, Thoros'l, you have a moment where you are kind of turning away from that. And you're looking. You look at Alanere, and he's still locked in conversation with the two arguees. You're kind of scanning the crowd, and your eyes fall on a very familiar sigil. There is a man that's standing not far away from you. He's actually standing with an older man, or two older men, and 4 younger women, and he looks entirely out of place. He's dressed in kind of a military-like uniform, but it's not the Bloodstone military uniform. It's a uniform that is very similar to one that you recognize as well. On the breast of his kind of uniform is an undeniable symbol that you are very familiar with. It is the symbol of the Devil's Own. Almost. He's a probably early to mid-20s. Short, silver hair, military, regal, kind of noble bearing. And he is dressed in what appears to be a kind of an offshoot of the Devil's Own uniform. He wears the Devil's Own sigil on his chest, but there is it is superimposed with a red set of scales, which is the scales are the symbol of Heliogoblus and of Bloodstone. But right here, standing kind of in the midst, you make eye contact for a second, and he kind of tilts his head as though he also recognizes you. And that is where we will end tonight's session. Guys, thank you for coming out and joining us for this evening. I understand that this was not exactly the same kind of breakneck pace as the previous session was, but I hope you had a good time with it anyway. As certain questions start to get answered and even more questions begin to arise, join us again next week on Tuesday for Eldrick's Ascension Part 4, the next Bloodstone session on what is today. Today is the 3rd, so the 10th of October, we hope. Hopefully Sprout will be back with us as well, and we can get him re-engaged into the mix. If you're interested in that sort of thing, we have 3 other weekly streams that start on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 10 p.m. Central. There are League of Legends streams, if that's something that interests you. by all means, join us 10 p.m. Central, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. Then we'll be back 8 p.m. Central on next Tuesday for some more Bloodstone.
Absolutely.
Great game tonight. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Good night.
Adios.